Got it.
Last week, we talked about hashtags and taglines, because what I'm trying to do is help people. The conversation was, what other things can you be doing right now? In your case, Kathy, you are plenty busy, but at the same time, you want to make sure your pipeline's there. And so what things can you be doing if you're not doing a ton of business or not doing any business? And one of the things was to really up the volume on your marketing materials. Really take a look at everything that you've got, all of your collateral, and make sure that it's where you want it to be, if it's, conveying your message and if you're getting enough exposure. And one kind of cool thing that we talked about was this whole idea of having a tagline or a hashtag when you do social media posting, and, coming up with something original. And not everybody who was on the call last week is on the call this week, which is fine. But the idea was to come up with a hashtag. I don't know if anybody did.
Oh.
That's okay.
Well, we're doing hashtag Oswego Strong during.
Right. So that's a good one. That's a good one. And
ours is we help you get IT, or we help you get it.
Yes. And my tagline is we get the word out. So, and if you were to see my logo, it's a jet fueled paper airplane. So it kind of works together to some degree. And I don't usually put my tagline on things. I usually just put my logo on it, because I think it's got enough motion and mobility that most people recognize it, who've done business with me. And the way I market is I'm only so many people. It's me and a couple subcontractors. So if I market too much, I don't do a ton of marketing. I mostly do word of mouth, because if I market too much, then I have to say no, and then I lose that, business. So my big thing right now is working on what I'm working on is how do I carefully grow this business where I have more business and more people and so forth, and prep for that. Because this, it's horrible as this situation is right now, this will bounce back. We will bounce back at some point. It's just going to be a different bounce back for everybody. So, okay. So today we're playing a game, and we're playing a game about taglines, and then we'll talk a little bit about hashtags and usage. And then I'm going to give you a general idea of when you're doing a marketing communications plan. I'm going to give you the actual list of things that need to be in your marketing communications plan, whether you wanted to know or not. And I'm not going to get into too much detail on it. If there's enough interest, I'll dedicate a call to that. But for now, it's just giving you a little sampling. So let's start with the fun part. I'm going to share, hold on. I'm going to share my screen. And I can't do that and that. So I guess I'm not going to do that first. I'm going to share my screen.
There we go.
And there we go. And what you're going to do is you're going to tell me that tagline. Can anybody name the company that is the tagline for? Be all you can be.
Oh,
United States Army.
It is. And would anybody like to guess how old that tagline is?
12 years.
How many?
12.
1981.
Wow.
That is an old tagline.
That's right. That was before the Soldier of One.
Yes.
Army of One.
Yes.
Graduated. Wow.
So the idea here is for you to see a little bit about what the staying power of a tagline can do. I mean, in some cases. Next one. Bet you can't eat just one.
Lay's potato chips.
Don. Okay. So what's the?
Don, you watch a lot of TV.
When do you?
No, I'm into marketing.
How old?
Or eats a lot of chips.
How old do you think this is?
At least 20 years.
Pretty good. All right. Next one. Breakfast of Champions.
Wheaties.
All right, Don, you're going to have to stop answering so fast. Anybody want to guess, other than Don, how old this is?
Oh, God. 50 years?
Yeah, close.
Wow.
1930.
90.
100 years old. Almost
Wow.
100 years old. That tagline has not changed in 90 years.
Wow.
And you all, I mean, is there anyone on this call that didn't know that was the Wheaties tagline?
I know.
Shayna's probably, I'm going to say 20 years, maybe 30 years younger than me. And And she probably you knew it too, right?
I did.
Yeah. So, I mean, that is a tagline that has literally lasted the test of time.
Wow.
Snap, crackle, pop.
Am I allowed to answer?
Rice Krispies.
Oh, there we go. Cheryl got it. So, Don, how old do you think this is?
That one would probably also be close to 90 years old.
You're correct, sir.
Wow. Which is interesting because those are coming out right either before or right during the Great Depression.
Yes, interesting, isn't it?
I bet you she's going to swing that in there.
Me and my big mouth.
So just because it was the Depression doesn't mean people weren't innovating.
And they were still marketing.
They were still marketing. Don't leave home without it.
Amex.
There we go. Anybody want to guess? How old?
80s.
1975.
Ah,
It's like almost 50 years old. Double your pleasure, double your fun.
with the
Double
double
mint
mint.
gum.
Mint gum.
Yes. Wrigley
That's
gum.
another like 30s or 40s era.
1959. 1959.
Okay.
Kentucky Fried
Now, would that be
Chicken.
KFC or is that Kentucky Fried Chicken?
Well, according to the list I was looking at, it's KFC. That's also from 1952.
Wow.
52, they were Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Well, yes, but you know what I'm saying. The other white meat. Anybody know what that is?
Pork.
Oh, yeah.
National Pork Board.
Mhm.
Oh, no. All right. There's one more. There should be one more. No, there's not. Okay. So does anybody notice something about some of these? Anybody notice anything about some of these taglines? Like, is there any theme that you see in any of these taglines?
One, it doesn't say the product. Two, it gives you a feeling or an emotional response that makes you like whatever it's linked to in a positive manner.
Okay. What else?
They're old.
They're short and sweet.
They're short and sweet. Oops. Hold on. Let me do something real quick. Highlighter.
Okay, so be all you can is a feeling, but like snap, crackle, pop is if it's like it's a sound. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's yeah.
Finger, like you said, finger licking good is touch.
Right.
It means something, yeah.
There's definitely sensory. Does anybody get a bit of a sensual nature to this? Bet you can't eat just one. I'm sitting there last night going through this. I'm like, oh my God, this is, when people see this, they're going to wonder what the heck this is. This is back when, you know, these are all back when advertising, the whole idea of, and I, you know, hopefully nobody who is watching this on their own time is going to like clutch their pearls. But this is back when sex sells was like a philosophy in advertising. That whole Ogilvy idea that, you know, the more that you can put in there that it's going to be suggestive, the more it gets people's attention. So I found it fascinating. Like, oh, look at that. There's a generational or an era, if you will, of, let's see, how do there we go. I can get my unpointer, my pointer. All right, here. Oh, well, okay, fine. All right, so the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna just talk about basics with hashtags. So some of this is a no duh, but for some people this is not gonna be a no duh because I've seen people hashtag before. So if you've not seen on the, if you haven't seen, this started at the beginning of the pandemic, and I can't remember who this guy is, but it's the dude who, I think it's like hashtag Tim. It's the guy who kept posting stuff and then saying literally the word hashtag whatever. And so, I mean, hilarious. Some people don't realize that it's called a hashtag because it starts with a hashtag. So Starts with a hashtag. There are no spaces, there's no punctuation, there's no symbols. If you use any of those things, it will no longer be a hashtag. And that's important because the reason that's important is it's not searchable once it's not linked to, when it doesn't have the hashtag on it. And the whole point of it is to be searchable. So when you use a hashtag, you want to use it on public posts. This is for your marketing, or you will not be seen by non-followers. Basically, you'll be preaching to the choir. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Look out, I said this last time, make sure not to have too many words, make them relevant, somewhat short and easy to remember. Again, you're trying to create something for a brand. You're not trying to be funny. And I've done hashtags before where it's really long and it was just funny, but I wasn't branding anything. That was just for me personally. If I'm doing something for branding, it's going to be short, easy to remember, very succinct. The next thing is relevant and specific, so it's easy to find and not overused. The most used hashtag is love.
Mhm.
Now, you can include love on your post and you will be found. Now, you might be found amongst a couple million other posts and never be seen, but you'll be found. So it's the idea here of, you could put the most commonly used hashtags on your post. You may or may not get seen. Being found and being seen are two different things. And then you want to limit the number of hashtags. So I thought this was an interesting recommendation. We've all seen the Facebook posts where there's 20 hashtags. And the recommendation for Facebook and Twitter is 1 to 2 at the most. Instagram is where you want a lot of hashtags because people search on Instagram. That's just kind of the nature of Instagram, is they do a lot of searching. And so the more hashtags you have, the better. YouTube is 2 to 3. LinkedIn is 1 to 2. And again, LinkedIn is because it's still a professional social media outlet, and you don't want to look spammy on LinkedIn. I mean, we all know who those people are. And then Pinterest, there was, gosh, I can't remember her name, the lady who owns the one of the antique places in downtown Oswego. And she was talking about the fact that they had to shutter for the time being. And we were talking about maybe having her do, this is probably the first or second call, having her do a Pinterest page and also do an e-commerce site. And for anyone who's doing that or has Pinterest, 2 to 5 is generally the recommendation. Any questions?
Do they have these posted? Because I didn't know about the limitations.
Well, I found this on an article. I can certainly send you the article. It goes into much more detail. So this article or this blog post went into a lot more detail about researching the best hashtag to use. So the idea here is you want to use your own hashtag, but you also want to use another. And let me get to the next thing and there we go. So I'll talk about it here. So you want to use your own branded hashtag, whatever that is. And then you want to use popular related hashtags to get you found. Because your brand isn't, unless you have a brand that is extremely well known, you're not necessarily going to be found. You might be accidentally found, but you're not necessarily going to be found. So you want to use something that's also going to get you found and seen. And for that, there's an entire process that you want to go through. A lot of it has to do, it's a very similar process to doing SEO work, where you look to see, you do some consumer research, you do some competitive analysis of your, of what's being used. Then you look to track what hashtags are the most popular, what have the most staying power, what are people searching for the most. Then you look to see what is the most relatable to your brand. Then you start doing some testing of those hashtags to see if they actually work. And then you start implementing them. It's a long process. You can do it on your own. It's generally something that you're going to want to have a consultant who specializes in this do it with you, just because, or you could do it on your own for a while and see how it works and kind of see if you can make it happen. I'm not saying it's not possible. It's just, there's a lot of heavy lifting and analytics on the back end of it. And then the service that we're talking, the two services that, one is Hashtag Me and the other one is, I can't remember the name of it offhand. you have to subscribe to them. So you have to pay for the service to be able to do it. But Don, I'll in addition to the slide, the deck here, I'll also include a link to that blog article, and you can kind of see. Okay, great. So hashtags also on your posts support social issues. You can, if you want to, on one of these calls, I talked about partnering. This is a good time to partner with a nonprofit or a cause. It gets you great brand awareness. It has that nonprofit or cause want to help support your business. And it's just a great thing to do. I mean, nonprofits right now are struggling big time because fundraising is almost non-existent. And so this is a great way to do that too. And, either finding out what that nonprofit's hashtags are, or focusing on the actual social issue or the cause that they're dedicated to, and using that as part of your hashtag. Hashtags add context. If you're posting something and you're trying to make sure that people know what it is you're referring to, sometimes a hashtag will do that. So here's an example. I've posted on a personal note, I've posted on my Facebook profile before a comment about one of my kids, and put proud mom, hashtag proud mom. So it's like this, the context of this post is I'm really proud. Or it might be not so proud mom because I'm being funny or sarcastic or whatever. It adds context to the post. It adds humor, it can add context, it can add a little more, I guess, color commentary, if you will, to your post. And then, like I said, the hashtag strategy is what I was referring to, Don, is really doing some research, not just on your hashtag is your hashtag, and that's got to be your thing. But as far as what other hashtags to use to help build your brand and get some awareness, you want to do some of that background research. And like I said, the first step in that is kind of like SEO, where you're looking at what keywords most apply to your business. And then you use those keywords to start, and you look at what keywords other competitors or your competitors are using. And then you start using those keywords to look and see what hashtags are being used, what are most popular. And then again, where is that sweet spot in between what everybody's using, what's really effective, and where can you kind of slide in with a cool hashtag that people are searching on, but isn't something everyone is using. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yeah.
Okay, I know that was kind of roundabout. All right. Good on. All right, perfect. All right, so next, so I can
Quick
answer.
question here.
Yeah,
Quick
please.
question. So is there a way to search a hashtag to find out if someone else is using the hashtag you like?
I believe so. So hold on. I'm going to stop share for a moment, so you're not going to look at my various open windows. And I will see if I can find this.
While you're finding that, be careful with the hashtag you use. If you do say hashtag bunny pictures, looking for Easter bunny pictures, you get some interesting things coming up. So think about what hashtag you're using when you search or when you use, because it may be a hashtag that is tied to something you don't want it tied to. Hi, Emmett.
Do we have somebody new?
Oh, Emmett's, Shayna's little guy's popping in,
Oh,
waving at us.
all right. So of course, okay, find it. I had it, and then there is, Don. There is a way to do it.
Because like I used Google, and it's hard to see here because you can see there's our little "we help you get it," and
yeah.
These are the two things that popped up, and it's like Wing Ming Electrical Company, something on Facebook, and then counting down one day, attractive Wing Ming Electrical Company. So it's like, okay, I'm thinking I can use this, but we're going to try and put that in all of our branding from here on out.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the other thing is what is the name of yours? What is your hashtag again?
We help you get it, which would be IT.
So
yeah, no, I got that. So is get IT to, that might get you in trouble too.
Well, when we sponsored a couple of runners in the Chicago Marathon, they wore jerseys, and on the back of their jerseys it said, "Follow me to get IT." And
Oh, that's what I was talking about.
Oh, Lord have mercy, that does not mean what you think it means. All right.
but it was a conversation starter.
I mean, there is something to be said for being, what is it called?
Provocative.
Yes, thank you.
Sex sells. I was told that by someone in marketing.
Yeah, it does. There's a finite space where, yes, there's a, you have to be real careful. All right, I'm going to find it later.
Okay.
Because I can't find it now. Okay, so let me go back. Anything else? Any other questions about hashtags? Or I'm trying not to dip too far into social media because I know that's really something Vanessa has been covering. I can certainly answer any questions about social media. I do it myself as well. And then I a lot of times will contract out with Social Butterfly Concepts to do the social media work when it's like deep into the weeds type of stuff. But I mean, if you have high level questions, I'm happy to answer that too. Otherwise, I'm going to just kind of move into the other section of this, which is like the marketing, how to create a marketing plan, because that was one of the things that Ken suggested last week is, people start working on their marketing communications plan. So I'm going to show you when I do a marketing communications plan for a company, this is what it looks like. This is what is entailed. So, so I know this is horrible because everybody's going to look at this and see the O word and say, oh my God, seriously, do I have to do this again? Yes. The reason why you had to do goals and objectives ad nauseum in high school and college is because you will use them for the rest of your life, including with any time in business, as we know, and especially with marketing and any kind of communication. So first things first is, what are you trying to accomplish? High level, and then what strategies are you going to put in place to accomplish that? I usually limit people to three goals, because realistically, if we're talking about a year, 3 goals is about as much as you're going to accomplish in a year for your business, like beginning to end. And I know that seems crazy because a lot of people said, oh no, I'm very productive. I know how productive you are, but 3 big goals is about as much as you can expect. You can put other big goals on the sideline and say, okay, if we get all this done, we'll focus on this. But a lot of times what happens is people create these giant lists of things and never accomplish anything. And if we're seeing even now more of a trend to that. If you've not seen it, there's a book called The One Thing, written by, I think, Gary Keller, who is his name Gary Keller? Or am I mixing the company name and whatever? It's the guy who started Keller Williams, and he wrote a book with a couple partners, and it's about finding your one thing, the thing that motivates you, that gets you up in the morning, that moves you, and as a result, everything else will fall in place. And it's just this whole idea of if you really hone in on what you're trying to accomplish, you'll accomplish more as a result. So 3 big goals. And then from those goals, you've got objectives. So, and the other thing is smart. Your goals need to be smart. So specific, measurable, action-oriented, relative, and time-based. Realistic, and time-based. So you need to know when your goal is accomplished, basically. Okay, so there's that.
SMART principle.
The SMART principle, yes. All right, so then from those goals and objectives, I usually do some kind of a competitive analysis of the market. This is where most business owners this is what most business owners don't do. They don't look to see who's doing what, how are they marketing, what else are they saying? Are they saying something that I'm saying? Is it sounding like the same music? Are we all on Lawrence Welk right now? Is it really boring? Does anybody even know who that is? Probably just Don. Anyway, okay, so, thank you, Kathy. I appreciate that. That was on my grandparents' TV every single time we went over to their house. So a competitive analysis of what is their business? What services are they saying they offer? What are they doing to market their services? What are they saying about those services? What are their key messages? What are their hashtags? What are their taglines? All of that. Then you need to look at who is your target audience, like who, primary, secondary, and tertiary. Who are you trying to reach? Yes, you would take a customer from anywhere, of course, most of you would, but who specifically are you trying to get to work with you? So my target audience, my primary target audience is the middle-sized business. It's not the small business, it's the middle-sized business. And technically, it's more than 500 employees. So I know small business, you know, we've all had this conversation about 500 employees, that's not a small business. Well, you know, in some circles, 500 employees is a small business. I know exactly what my primary target market is. My secondary target market is large businesses, and my third is pretty much anyone else. Market positioning, yet another place where people do not spend nearly enough time. So when I started this business itself, I was in the city of Chicago, which is, you know, has a ton of people who write. And so I really didn't do that kind of analysis at the time. But when I moved out here to Oswego, I did a bit of a market positioning analysis to see how many writers were here. What kind of work do they do? Who is their target market? Who are they trying to work with? What is their rate scale? How much are they charging? Are they charging Oswego rates? Are they charging Naperville rates? Are they charging Chicago rates? Are they charging New York rates? Or are they charging LA rates? And figuring out where I can fit in and if I can even fit in this market. You know, one of the things is knowing, are you overpriced for this market? Are you underpriced for this market? Are you offering services that people here even want or need? A lot of times what happens with businesses is, and I fall into this too, is we tend to focus on what we think people need to hear in order to do business with us. That's not how people do business. Nobody makes a decision based on their mother telling them to do it, unless they're under 7. Other than that, it's what they need to hear to determine that this is the best thing for them to do. If you have a teenager, you know what I'm talking about. It's all smoke and mirrors. It's all about persuasion. It's all about getting them to think that this is exactly what they want to be doing. Yes, of course, that's what I want to do. I want to put my dishes in the dishwasher. They don't want to put their dishes in the dishwasher. You have to convince them they want to put their dishes in the dishwasher. So the idea here is making sure that you're talking to your customers and your potential clients and customers in a way where you're saying what they need to hear in order to want to do business with you, or even know that you exist, or even know that there's an opportunity. So then we start looking at now we've done all this work. This is the work nobody wants to do. I totally get it. And now we start looking at what are we gonna say? So what's the branding? More than a logo. We just talked about that. There's also in addition to your logo, there's also what your tagline is. There's your hashtags. There's where you are on social media. There is what your tone is. Are you happy? Are you somber? Are you serious? Are you happy-go-lucky? Are you helpful? Are you authoritative? Are you collaborative? What's your tone? All of those things make up the brand. What were you going to say, Don?
Some people don't realize how important that is because they think that their brand or their communication is happy when actually it comes across authoritative or dictatorial, and they're actually eliciting the wrong emotion out of people in what they're saying.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, even word choice. So, I mean, I really can get into this if we need to. I mean, again, if this continues, I'll get this far into the weeds, but how many syllables you have actually impacts your tone. How it sounds coming off of coming out of your mouth impacts the tone. What the first, a selection of first letters are impacts the tone. So how short and long the words are impacts the tone. Sentence structure impacts tone. How if it's written out, whether it's in paragraphs or in bullets or in short sentences or in, single lines, impacts the tone. There is so much about content that impacts tone. And all of that is branding. Everybody, not everybody, a lot of people think you slap a logos on something and it's branded. It's not. It is window dressed at best. And then you can't figure out why people don't remember you. I'll tell you why people don't remember you. Because first of all, there's too many messages. And second of all, people don't know what to think about you. So I could go into branding. In fact, you know what we should do, Angie? Let's do a branding call.
Yeah.
Like deep into the weeds on branding call.
And not to get too deep in the weeds, but one of my favorite examples of this, and hopefully you can find it, it was the Monday after the Super Bowl, back when Jay Leno was still doing the Tonight Show. He talked about the ads that were on the Tonight Show, and he went out on the street and was asking people questions. Did you watch the Super Bowl? Did you see the commercials?
Mm-hmm.
Did you see the commercial where the cheetah was chased by a guy? Yeah. Did you like that commercial? Yeah. Do you remember what it was for?
No.
Sprite. I want to say Sprite. Okay, would you drink that as a result of that commercial? Yes. It was a Mountain Dew ad. And here it is. It did not resonate well enough for someone to remember the brand to go and buy that brand.
Right. Exactly. Well, and that's the, that's the rub. That's the rub, in fact, for sure. Public relations strategy, if you have one. So a lot of times people don't have a public relations strategy until they have a crisis, and then they have a public relations strategy, or they need one immediately. That's not a public relations strategy. That's a crisis management strategy. So having a public relations strategy it can include a ton of things. It can include how many chamber events am I going to go to on a month? It can include, do I want to have any kind of native advertising, any kind of articles written about my business that talk about what I do as a business owner? Do I want to make sure that I'm putting out a press release when something happens, just make sure it's interesting, or else the media will start ignoring you. There are all sorts of aspects to public relations. You can also, if you're in the type of field where there could be a crisis, so any person that has a board of directors, any nonprofit that has a board and an executive director should have a crisis management strategy that accounts for everything that could go wrong.
It could be misquoted in the paper.
Well, it could be as benign as being misquoted in the paper. It could be as bad as embezzlement. It could be somewhere in the middle as with regard to someone doing something inappropriate that was caught on video or surveillance camera. I mean, I have been called on all three of those things.
Wasn't me strategy doesn't work?
No, actually. Not when there's video. Okay, so my point is having a crisis management strategy. If you're your own person and you're doing what have you, the other thing about public relations in my mind, when I'm talking to people about public relations, because they think big picture, is are you going to have, it's partially marketing, but if someone's driving your truck and your truck has your logo on it, what are the rules for that person as far as how fast they should drive? What are the rules as far as how, if they should ever get into a confrontation with someone on the road? What are the rules for whether they should accidentally drive over someone's lawn? What are the rules for, cutting people off? I know that sounds ridiculous, but do you know how many Facebook posts there are where people say, I saw so-and-so's truck and I don't know if they were in it or not. And that is bad. I mean, we live in a society where people pile on easily online. Easily. One person
Even
said
more so now.
Even more so now. We're all sitting at home in front of our devices and laptops. All of that should be important. And again, this is the time to do it. Social media strategy is, where are you on social media? Are you on Facebook? Are you on Twitter? Are you on Instagram? Are you on YouTube? Are you on Pinterest? Are you on Quora? Are you on Medium? Are you on LinkedIn? Where are you? And there's a bunch of other ones. I mean, it depends. If you're dealing with a really young audience, like teenagers and stuff, are you on Snapchat? Are you on TikTok? You know, where are you? And then event marketing, again, event marketing, this was actually created for a larger company, but event marketing is, you know, do you want to do any kind of, and it's kind of related to public relations, any kind of stunts, publicity stunts, any type of activities. It could also be, do you want, you know, where are your sponsorships? So where are your sponsorships? How many sponsorships are you going to do a year? I know how many sponsorships I'm willing to budget for a year, and I want to do a year. I know what golf outings I want to be a part of, whether I want to attend or whether I want to do a basket or I want to sponsor. I know what nonprofit activities I want to do. All of that stuff is part of that strategy. Then you start looking at a marketing communication schedule. So what are we going to say? And in that, I didn't, again, I can get into this. What are your key messages? How often are you going to say those key messages? How are you going to say those key messages? What media are you going to use? Whether it's social media, print, online, blogging, email, direct mail, lumpy mail, digital, you know, any, you know, form of digital marketing, all those things. And then what's the schedule going to be? And then budget, which again, budget and results measuring. So how much money are you willing to spend? And that will make you go back and look at your schedule again and say, oh, well, maybe we can't do all of this. And then also how will you know you've actually accomplished what it is you want to accomplish? So that's where the SMART goals, actually, the rubber hits the road for the SMART goals. I feel like I just taught a marketing 101 class. Okay, and everyone's eyes are glazed over. So any questions? I know that's a lot.
Oh, it's great information. I'm taking my notes.
I got to add, before I send this out, I'll add into the marketing communication schedule, the messaging and so forth. I just, I shouldn't assume, because most people know they have to write a message, and most people know they have to pick whether they're doing print or, because most people come to, usually when people come to me, they say, I'm going to do a print piece, I'm going to do I need to do a website. And I think what I'm going to do is offer a discount. It's like, okay. And what are we trying to accomplish here? It's annoying to them, but it's usually let's back this up just a touch. What are we trying to do here? Or sometimes people come and say, I know exactly what I want to say, and this is who I want to say it to. And I can see, knowing that demographic, they're not going to respond to this. That's a 65 and over demographic. They don't even know what that thing means. They've never heard that word before. That's a sentence for somebody who's like under 25. So it's this whole idea of putting the whole piece together. Again, you know, most people do not want to do this, but if you are at home and you cannot do business right now, or you're doing less business, this is the time to do this. Take the time, take advantage of the opportunity, because you need to do this either way. So you're either going to do it now when you have the time, or you're going to do it later when you don't have the time, and you're going to slap this thing together and it's going to be no better than it was in the first place. Not to be super blunt, but
No, because a lot of people,
you know him.
right, you know, with Medicare, they go to those events in the fall. Will those events still be there? So everyone's trying to figure out how they're going to do the marketing to get to those people that sign up for Medicare during open enrollment.
Well, this is a good point. So this is something that right now, when I talk to people, I am pointing out to them. Do not look at this like, okay, when we get back to where we were, this is what I want to do. No. Assume this is how it is. Assume the only way you can communicate with people is, or one of the primary ways, is digitally, and maybe mailing some things to them. Assume that you don't have access to people, and then come up with a marketing plan. Because honestly, that is going to give you more power anyway. That's how you should be marketing in the first place. Not assuming that your and I'm sorry to say this, your small network of people are always going to give you business. The advantage of and so this is my thing about, because I've been in leads groups several times, and the thing about a leads group that's great is it allows you to have people network and refer to you and so forth. But if everybody is literally in the leads group thinking, who can I hit up in this group this week to do some work for, which is what a lot of people do, and that's how they run their business too, then you are going to run out of options very quickly. Instead of saying, okay, this is my networking, these are my partners in networking, these are the people who are going to get my message out, but my message is designated, it is directed toward people I don't even know. How do you market to people you don't know? That's what should be the focus right now. Does that make sense? People who have heard about you are easy. People who've never heard of you, who do not know you exist, that's where your marketing strategy should be.
And also, you need to have a timetable and understanding how long and how many times am I going to have to put this out before a response comes back. It's not going to be, the first time I say this, 30 clients are coming in right away. I need to be repetitive and consistent in what I say before people are going to respond to the message.
And I would say, just to add on to that, your demographic is going to determine part of it. Your sales cycle is going to be determined by your demographic, because some people don't want to hear it 20 times and some people need to hear it 20 times. And then on top of that, you need to look at your sales cycle now. I guess that's another thing is, and I do sales because I own a business, but I am not a sales expert. So that might be something, Angie, to look into, is somebody in the chamber who is really good at, sales, who's like a sales VP or director, to talk about kind of like their formulaic way of handling this, because I would be interested to see what someone says about the sales cycle and how it's changed with this pandemic, because guaranteed it has. I can tell you mine has considerably. And I knew exactly how many phone calls, emails, and messages I had to send out to get 1 to 3 clients. I knew exactly how many I had to do. It is a total crapshoot right now. I have not figured that out yet. And part of it is because, we're all dangling, our feet are dangling, right? We're all sitting in a chair that there's no floor right now. Nobody can feel the floor. But at the same time, that's, in my mind, that's where the fun is. This is what makes, in my mind, marketing exciting, because I love figuring people out, is okay, given the fact that everyone is unstable right now, for the most part, not unstable mentally, but everyone is feeling like, I don't know where the floor is. I can't touch the floor. My feet are dangling on this big chair. How do you get them to do anything, or think anything, or feel anything other than what they're feeling right now, or take action? Like, I find it fascinating, and it's a cool inquiry, and I think it would be really interesting. And that's the other reason why I'm doing this, Kathy, is I just find all of this fascinating.
I love clothes. All of us do, but okay, how many do it? Okay, if you wore just like jogging pants for the last 6 weeks, what I'm saying? It's like your clothing has changed, and it's like, well, if we're going to be staying inside most of the summer, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
Do I need really cute sandals this year? Because really, I'm not, even if the thing's open, who's really going to dabble out and go into those big crowds to begin with?
Well, I think that the idea here is
So like the marketing, like you said, is how do you, that's interesting, that's
Well,
me.
I will say this. There's a company out there called Revolve who in their marketing has changed to, okay, now you're wearing comfy.
Mhm.
Let's look at what's really comfy. Have you found that those, I forgot what not the leggings, what the yoga pants that you've been wearing aren't as comfortable as you thought? Here's some. Or when you want to just dress up and be at home, here's some wonderful spring dresses. Here's some wonderful, and they've just completely evolved their marketing to
Yeah.
hit that target market that I'm like, wow, this is incredible.
Well, here's the thing though. I don't know how effective it is. The only reason I say that is because I'm hearing a ton of backlash against the pivot in marketing to we're all in this together. I mean, it's one thing to say we're all in this together, but we're all in this together. And now that we're social distancing, as if it's a norm. And so there's I'd be again, it's all part of this cool inquiry is I'd be interested to see, I think personally, doing now you're stuck at home. Oh, there. Okay. All right. Now we're just going to market to you at home. I think the interesting and the creativity really comes into how do you market to the unknown future versus we're going to make this the new normal. How do you market to the unknown? Because honestly, if you can make yourself that nimble, it doesn't matter what is going on in the world, people will do business with you. I mean, that's the holy grail is how do I market to people regardless of what's going on in their lives? And so
I'm reminded when I watch TV that we're in COVID, every flipping commercial. Oh, we now do this because of COVID. We're in this together because of COVID. This is allowed. When I watch TV, a lot of times it's for entertainment and escape.
Yeah, don't tell
The
me.
show is exciting, me, and then I hit a commercial that's reminding me about the fact that we're stuck at home. It just pisses me off.
You know what? So it's 10, and I don't want to go overtime because I don't know if anybody has. And so if we're good with the recording.
Okay, let me.
Oh, thank you. Very helpful.